Unlike our favorite red plumber, the blue blur had a... No. No, stop it. We're not gonna do that. That's very outplayed. I'm not gonna be like the IGN fella.
Sonic was never good.
I'm gonna be completely real. Against my better judgment, I like Sonic. I've liked Sonic games since I was young, and my cousin showed me Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive, as I discussed in my Sonic 2 video. I think you can tell from sort of my back catalogue of videos that I like Sonic as well. So I figured it'll be fun to go over Sonic's first proper 3D debut, what the game does right and what the game does wrong. We'll be going through each campaign as shown on the character select screen, and for context, footage and gameplay will be taken from the PC port of Sonic Adventure DX on Steam. No mods, just going through the game as presented on its own and what you buy going in. Alright, so we're starting off on a pretty bad note, unfortunately. It's a pretty common complaint nowadays, but come on, you don't start your brand new 3D game with a boss fight with absolutely no context or tutorial on what's going on. I actually forgot to record like the first half of Sonic's story, and I can't be bothered to go back and get footage of it or take it from like another channel. So please enjoy this totally accurate recreation of the Sonic vs Chaos fight at the start of the game.
Come on, you big drip!
Now, it is simple enough to get to grips with, admittedly, from a controls perspective and what to do, but I can imagine especially at release this would have been confusing. The most glaring problem to me is that this could have been easily fixed with the inclusion of Tikal. Now, this is something I'll actually praise the game for later on in the video, but having her in the corner to explain how the game controls works if you needed it would have totally remedied the issue I have with this fight. So you know how it goes, Sonic says this is happening, he wonders where the big drip is going, and Eggman explains that you just fought Chaos in the most tin can grade sound quality imaginable. Tails crash lands on a beach and we have to go check he didn't perish in the crash. This brings us to our first level, Emerald Coast. For the rest of the video, I'm not going to go through every single level in depth unless I find them particularly notable, whether that's for positive or negative reasons. And for Emerald Coast, I think it makes for a pretty fantastic first impression for Sonic's action stages. As mentioned before, the red orb you'll see floating around in certain areas of the game is Tikal, and she serves as the tutorial giver of the game, like I said, and I really like how she's integrated into the game. Players who know what they're doing can completely ignore her and be absolutely fine, but people who are starting out or need help can walk into her and she'll give you helpful tips. One of the better ways to create a tutorial in my opinion. Another design aspect that I think shines through Sonic stages in particular is how they transition the design philosophy of 2D Sonic's gameplay into 3D. In 2D Sonic, generally levels play out on a risk-reward like structure. If you can keep up to high speed, you'll generally go to a higher platform that offers more rewards but with more enemies, whereas a lower route would be safer but takes longer and has less collectibles. Sonic Adventure works in a kind of similar format for most part, and at the start you can either hop onto a spring and be taken through a small sequence to get through the next part, or you can spin dash on an elevated platform to hop onto a bridge, skipping the spring sequence at the very start of Emerald Coast. As well as having all sorts of collectibles around through hidden parts of the level, that rewards exploration and curiosity with things such as rings and extra lives. My only real gripe with this level, and I guess the game as a whole, is the glitches. You know the one, clipping into the floor leading up to the bridge section and the Orca section. Now, as far as I know, this is only present in the DX version I've heard. I've never played the Dreamcast version myself, but apparently it's just not present in that one. This is something a lot of people complain about, so I'm not going to harp on it, but I thought it was at least worth mentioning. The next stage is Windy Valley, and there's not much I have to say on this stage in and of itself, but I think this and Ice Cap emphasize how Sega were trying to bring the 2D world into this new 3D one, and I think that's a cool little bit of trivia. What I do want to talk about more though is my thoughts on the overworlds and hubs of this game, and I'm going to be honest, I kind of hate them. It's not entirely true. I find Station Square at least tolerable. I can see what they're trying to do, create a bustling living city that changes as you go through the game, but the technology just wasn't there in 1999. Sure, you can interact with NPCs and their dialogue changes as the game goes on, but it doesn't matter at all to actual game progression. Mystic Ruins and the Egg Carrier, however, I just cannot stand. I do like the Egg Carrier aesthetically, but Mystic Ruins just looks the same to me. I would prefer a level select that just gets from A to B. I can understand why some would prefer an overworld structure that connects the levels together, but as the puzzles that connect the action stages to the world are so basic, it just comes across as pointless, and I think that going from level to level would help the game flow a bit better. Since we are on a bit of a negative streak, let's keep it going by talking about some stages that I just can't stand. Casinopolis and, jumping ahead a bit, Lost World. These define levels that don't really work for me because of their gimmicks. For Casinopolis, the goal is getting enough rings to deposit to form a platform to get a Chaos Emerald. Cute gimmick, and the platforming section in the sewer is both fun and a good way of getting rings. However, the pinball stages you need to go through to get to the sewer and get rings are both unruly and tedious, especially the Knights one. Lost World, on the other hand, is a bad stage in my book, mainly due to glitches. In particular, it's very easy to clip through the snake just by standing on it, and the light puzzle that can disrupt the pacing of a generally fast-paced stage, and the light is barely needed. The rest of Sonic stages I have little to say on, however. I find them all generally to be enjoyable apart from what I just mentioned, and they're pretty well designed, and they have plenty of exploration elements and fun fast gameplay to boot. As for the plot, there's not really much to go on. It's a very simple story of good guy Sonic stopping bad boy Eggman. Simple, works, no real complaints here. Overall, despite what you'll hear online, I feel Sonic's transition into 3D, although it's not without growing pains, was pretty successful. And with that, let's move on to Tails.
Select your character.
Here I come, Sonic!
Like in the 2D games before them, Tails is more or less a repeat of Sonic's story, even starting off with a boss fight. Damn, they really thought that was a good idea, huh? That aside, it repeats the story for the most part, with it branching off towards the end to tell a nice little story about Tails being more self-confident. Gameplay-wise, Tails also plays very similarly to Sonic 2, except instead of a spin dash, Tails of course has the power of flight, and it absolutely breaks the game. Considering that the people that you race, i.e. Sonic, and of course barring Eggman in the final stage, cannot fly. So yeah, that puts the character you're racing against just at a tad bit of a disadvantage. Oh, and Tails' stages all revolve around racing, by the way. Tails is a racing fan. A bit of a racist, if you will. Or as I pointed out in my stream...
Oh, Tails is all races, isn't he? Tails incites race wars wherever he goes.
Oh my god.
Bruh.
Voice acting isn't something I really touched on with Sonic. I'll talk about voice acting at certain points through the video, but I really didn't want to talk about it in Sonic's story, as I thought Ryan Drummond, the voice for Sonic at the time, did an okay-ish job on this one. The voice itself is fine, but some of the line deliveries are god-awful. However, I feel like this has more to do with the lack of direction and context the actors were given rather than bad acting in and of itself. Tails' VA especially gets ragged on. I'm not gonna do that though. Oh yes, I'm gonna make fun of a child for the millionth time. Scathing, red-hot commentary, I know. Moving on.
Okay, let's go.
Knuckles, he comes, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them. Not really though, his levels are like, okay, I guess. Thanks to the antics of Chaos, the Master Emerald is broken, so Knuckles' gameplay revolves around him hunting for pieces of the Master Emerald so he can put it back together, and his campaign is a bit of a mixed bag. The actual gameplay concept I like quite a bit. The treasure hunting stick fixed Knuckles' existing characteristics of gliding and digging really well, but you can really tell that the levels aren't designed around him, and this hurts from a level design perspective a lot, I feel. Also, the hints aren't really hints, they just straight up tell you where the emerald pieces are, which I guess great for people who need or want it, but I think that really just takes away from the fun of actually finding them. Knuckles' story is also a massive wasted opportunity as well from a narrative viewpoint. I mean, the crux of the whole plot is around his ancestors, this really should be his story, but instead he interacts with them literally like once, and instead they go for another, oh gosh darn, Eggman tricked me plot, like, my guy. He nearly ruined your whole island like a game ago, a singular game ago. Do you know Sonic and Co are good guys? They saved Angel Island after you got tricked last time, you fucking moron. Shaking my damn head. So far the gameplay styles have ranged from pretty tolerable to pretty fun, although probably not in the way intended. I'm talking about Tails in that bit if you couldn't tell. Amy is just kinda tedious. Her story isn't very interesting either. She just saves a bird, gets stalked by a robot, and tries to be independent outside of her obsession with Sonic, but not really still. A pretty weak story overall, just like her gameplay. Her gameplay is just a recreation of your average e-girl meeting their biggest fan. And just like in that nightmarish scenario, escape is the top priority. Amy's biggest issue is her speed. It takes an age for her to get into a decent running speed, a bit concerning when your gameplay loop is, oh I don't know, running away. In my opinion though, the story presentation is most visibly at its worst in Amy's story, and by this I mean how the cutscenes and models work. The Sonic CD flashbacks are ugly as sin, and the awkward idle animations and facial expressions may just be the most obvious and visible in her story.
I really miss him.
How do you... Oh, everything went... Oh, okay, that was intentional. I thought the game just kind of shot itself and made things 5% darker.
Ah, no, I fucked up.
This is a bit of a backhanded compliment, but I find Amy's campaign to be more inconsequential than outright horrible. She only has 3 stages and they last like 3 minutes tops, so even if her gameplay isn't that fun, at least she doesn't stick around for very long.
Select your character.
So you know what I said like 10-20 seconds ago about Amy's gameplay? Even if her gameplay isn't that fun, at least she doesn't stick around for very long. Yeah, Big doesn't do that. The motherfucker more than overstays his goddamn welcome. Everyone knows Big's gameplay is genuinely rancid. I don't like fishing games at the best of times, but even more so when the fishing controls are barely functional. But even if the gameplay makes me want to slam my head off my desk, perhaps it can be saved by the quality of its story. And luckily Big's campaign is a story for the ages. It's a tale of love, a tale of loss, of introspection, of...
Froggy?
Yeah, I'm not gonna grace Big with any more of my time, I'm moving on now.
Select your character.
Preparation complete.
Gamma's story I actually like. I genuinely really like it a lot. His gameplay style to me is just fine. It's got some basic but fun arcade-esque shooting gameplay. Going through his levels on a time limit, holding down the shooting button also locks onto the targets, and the more targets you take down simultaneously, the more time gets added onto your limit to finish the level. Like I said, basic, but fun and functional. But what I really enjoy about Gamma's campaign is the narrative. He's an Eggman robot, and that's how his first couple of missions start off with, doing odd jobs that he's been instructed to. However, after meeting Amy, through her kindness, he starts to gain a sense of self, and eventually goes rogue to free his robot siblings. Now, this isn't a new concept. Robots learning how to love or how to be human is all over pop culture and fiction, but it's something that really makes sense for Sonic's world in particular, given that they're all powered by cute little animals. Something about the story also just feels very earnest, all culminating into the end of the story. After beating all of the other E-Series robots, also what is made of Dreamcast, thank you Sonic team, very cool. The only E-Series left to destroy was, well, Gamma himself, and after a hard-fought battle, he explodes and the bird inside flies off to be with the rest of its family. And to this day, Gamma has, to my knowledge, never been brought back, and I think it's because of this that his story works so well in the way that it does. Before we get to the final story section, I want to go over a few things in the game I haven't really covered up until now. I've talked about the gameplay styles in the hub worlds, and like I said, although I like the aesthetic of Station Square and Eggman Ship specifically, I don't like the implementation of going through the hub worlds in the actual game. The only real positive is the NPCs say some really fucking weird things from time to time, which is nice, I guess. A while ago I mentioned how the models look, and whilst in cutscenes it always does look like they're all grappling with the concept of existence itself. I do think it's cute that upgrades you find permanently add to the character's design. It's something that games don't really do anymore, and that I miss quite a lot. Because of this is a pretty hotly debated topic for some reason, Sonic Adventure DX updated the models from the original Dreamcast version somewhat. I have no attachment to the Dreamcast models since I never played the original version like I said. I'm used to the DX models so I prefer them, it's as simple as that. And how could I forget about the Chow Garden? I don't really care about the Chow Garden. As per Sonic tradition, the soundtrack is really good, and this doesn't change for Sonic's true 3D debut. Whilst it's not my favourite Sonic soundtrack made, I'd say the biggest strength of this OST is how varied it is. Some standouts for me include Station Square's theme, the first section of Emerald Coast, both sections of Speed Highway, all of Casinopolis' music, and my personal favourite level theme, Red Hot Skull, the second theme for Red Mountain. And though I do like this theme, just as a song in and of itself, the little screams really make it for me. It sounds like Toad from Mario Kart 64, like just take a listen. Like I said, those are my favourites, but a lot of songs in the soundtrack are very hit and miss for me personally, with quite a few being misses. But hey, an OST so varied, it's not surprising some styles aren't going to really be my thing. Not really knocking the game for that, it's just an observation on my part. I talked about the voice actors a little bit in the past bit of the video, but I want to talk more about them comprehensively here now. I talked about Sonic and Tails before, so I'm not going to discuss them here. Knuckles' voice actor is one I'm not really a fan of in Sonic Adventure. He just sounds kind of bored, and that makes his dialogue kind of uninteresting by extension. So it's not really offensive, I guess, but it's just not a voice I'm really a fan of for Knuckles personally. Amy's voiced by Jennifer Dooleyard, and she voices Amy for the next few games, and she does get better in the role for sure, but again, her performance is a little bit stilted here. It's not boring like I thought Knuckles was, but it just comes across as a bit awkward. As I said with Tails' voice direction, I think it's probably more so to do with voice direction rather than actual acting, as I think she does a really good job in Heroes and some part of Adventure 2, but again, the performance comes across as a little bit stilted here in my opinion. Gamma's voice is fine, he sounds like a robot. I don't know what else to say on Gamma, he sounds like what I think a robot would sound like. Big is voiced by Johnson John. Yes, Duke Nukem. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, he voices Big the Cat. I don't know how you could make Big sound good, but I guess Johnson John does the best he can with the material. Like, good on him. And finally, Eggman is voiced by Dean Bristow, and I think his performance is generally fine here, but there are a select few lines that really bring out that, like, vindictive nature of Eggman in Sonic Adventure 1. In Adventure 1, I think his performance is just fine, but like I say, there are a few standout lines that really cement him in the Eggman role. I think is a really good fit for the character.
You fool! Away, before I make mincemeat out of you. You don't have enough memory in the memory card.
Another first for the mainline Sonic games is vocal themes. Each character have their own themes, and as well as having the game having a main theme song, which I'll cover during the final story section, you probably know why I'm saving that one. Sonic's theme, It Doesn't Matter, is fine. I don't hate it, but he definitely gets better themes through the series, but it does fit his carefree yet ultimately heroic personality very well. Tails' theme, Believe in Myself, is one that I really dislike. Not a fan of the vocals in this one, just not my cup of tea. I think it actually might be a crime to dislike Unknown from Me, or M.E. I'm gonna call it Unknown from Me. This theme is pretty infamous, but I can't help but love it. It circles around from being really weird and kind of out of place in the soundtrack in general, to working really well for Knuckles' theme. And since we're talking about weird songs, Amy's theme, My Sweet Passion, on the surface the song is fine, I actually think it's pretty catchy, but the lyrics are really, really fucking bizarre. Okay, so this is me, just in the process of like writing the script. I'm obviously on the soundtrack now. I talked about Amy's theme being really weird. I knew that there were a couple of strange things in it, but I didn't really know the lyrics like in depth, so I'm gonna have a quick read through them. I'm skipping all the papaya stuff, and I'm gonna point out some of the really fucking bizarre lyrics. I thought it would be funny. I've got the lyrics up in front of me here. So you got your little papaya, that bit. It talks about setting out for adventure. I know that your lucky color is that cool shade of blue. Won't mind painting myself blue for you. Obviously it's talking about Sonic. That's not. It's not too bad. We're gonna get into the really weird stuff. It's like all concentrated in like I guess the second verse. So I do understand the feelings of a Persian cat. But Sphinx looks so cute, I had to shave it. What the fuck does that mean? He reminds me of Parsley when he's standing there alone. Makes me want to be his speciality. A speciality, as the song says. I knew about that bit, and I recognized she said the word parsley. I get the speciality bit, you know, it's a bit risque, bit cheeky. Why does he remind you of parsley? Like, what's like similar between Sonic the Hedgehog and parsley? Please explain that to me. What is the lore of that one? And then it just talks about being a self-centered girl and whatever. Okay, and then the next verse. This is kind of like the end of the weird stuff. It says, "Are you okay? You seem to be a little bit tense. You don't have to worry about a single thing. We are free to get whatever that we want to have. We are also free to do whatever we want." I guess that's kind of... I don't know what this says about me, but this sounds more like risque than I think is honestly intended. Like, the other ones are weird. They are weird, but I think this is just meant to be like, Sonic's carefree, so I'm gonna be carefree. And then just talks about being sweet and being a girl, I guess. Being a sweet, wonderful girl. Sweet, you're so sweet, and so on and so forth. But, yeah. I wanted to do a sort of blind reading. Like I said, I knew little bits of Amy's theme, but I'd never really read the lyrics or the whole song in depth. So there you go. It's fucking strange. Big's theme, Lazy Days, having a laid-back kind of surfer dude vibe, really does fit him for sure. I like the instrumental fine enough, but this is another one where the vocals aren't really doing it for me, sadly. Lastly, Gamma's theme is the only purely instrumental character theme, and I like it a lot. It feels very electronic and mechanical, but the piano that shows up intermittently gives the song so much more personality and life, which obviously fits Gamma to a T. If I had to rank them, I'd say Gamma's theme is my favourite, followed by Knuckles' theme, Sonic's, then Amy's, then Big's, and then Tails is my least favourite. The final story, or Supersonic story, is the culmination of everything the other stories have been building up to. We've seen bits and pieces of the past through Takal's visions in every campaign, but we get the full context of why Chaos has been on a rampage through the whole game. Knuckles' ancestors crave more and more power, and were going to use the Chow and the Master Emerald to do so. This enraged Chaos, who wiped out the tribe, and Takal sealed herself and the angry Chaos away until the Emerald was broken in present day. Now Chaos has absorbed every Chaos Emerald and has turned into perfect Chaos, going against Eggman and flooding the city in the process. With everyone gathered and all the Emeralds here, Sonic turns into Supersonic for the final fight. The boss is pretty simple, build up enough speed to ram into perfect chaos to cause damage. Bosses in this game take next to no brain power to beat, and that's why I haven't really covered them in this video, and perfect chaos isn't really any different, but the presentation along with the game's main theme, Open Your Heart, blasting in the background, at least makes the fight feel gratifying, even if it is still on the simple side. And I like Open Your Heart a lot. Again, it's not my favourite main theme in a Sonic game, but I still like it a lot. My only real gripe with this fight is the second phase. It plays the same, but the theme changes from Open Your Heart to a more orchestral theme. I really feel like the song order should have been swapped around, but this is admittedly a nitpick on my part. With Chaos beaten and calmed, he and Takal float off to the afterlife, I guess, and the day is saved. Except not really, because the city is still flooded to all fuck, and this is never addressed. No, not all's well that ends well, Tails. What do you mean? Hundreds of homes are ruined, lives are destroyed. What do you mean? I know that I said that I like Sonic a lot, despite dunking on Sonic Adventure a lot throughout this whole video. And yeah, although I do feel some criticisms from big outlets and personalities like the aforementioned IGN, among others, are unwarranted, that doesn't change the fact that this game is still pretty heavily fucking flawed. Some of the gameplay styles are absolutely horrible, and even the better ones don't always work great all the time. I feel like a lot of this game's strongest defenders, obviously it doesn't go for everyone who defends the game, I'm just generalising, more than likely grew up with this game. I didn't. In fact, my relationship with Adventure 1 parallels my experience with Sonic 1 quite a bit. I mainly grew up playing its sequel, but I didn't get a chance to try out the original until later in life. That's true for Sonic Adventure as well. I said in my Sonic 1 video that I don't really respect it, even with the fact that it is the series' first game, and this is kind of true for Sonic Adventure, although to a much, much lesser extent. I do enjoy visiting this game from time to time, mainly for Sonic stages or to fuck around as Tails, but it's extremely rare that I go back to any of the other characters. I can respect what Sonic Team were going for, but in the end the product now feels a bit messy nowadays, and therefore a mixed bag. That maybe a sequel could iron out and polish the rough spots to make a truly impressive game. Who knows? Only time will tell. Nah, I'm gonna stop being coy. The next video is Sonic Adventure 2. But thank you for watching. That's the end of the video now. Yeah, next video is going to be Adventure 2, and if you want to watch me play through Adventure 2 again, I'm going to be streaming it on Twitch to get footage, so if you want to, you can follow me. My link will be in the description, like for my Twitch streams. Again, no schedule, I just kind of do it whenever I want, but, you know, I should be streaming a lot more often. Well, not really a lot more often, but just more often in general now. Again, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, a like would be great. If you want to subscribe, that would be pretty cool too. And tell me what you think of Sonic Adventure. Do you agree with some of the criticisms that I made? Do you disagree? Do you like it more than I do? Do you dislike it? Like, outright hate it? Let me know. I'd love to talk about it and just the Sonic series in general. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.